My name is Courtney Gardner. I'm the Executive Director of the Peninsula Fine Arts Center. Being the director here is really a labor of love for me. I have a long tenure with the Peninsula Fine Arts Center. I volunteered for the organization when I was in high school and had the opportunity when I came back to the community after college to re-engage and get back involved here in a sort of auxiliary association called Young at Art. And through that volunteer work, I was able to join the board of directors. And at the time, the director here asked me to come on as the development director. So I had the pleasure of serving in that role from 1996 until 2000. And then had the opportunity to come back here as the director in 2011. So I like to say that my nonprofit career on the Virginia Peninsula both started here at the Peninsula Fine Arts Center, and candidly it's ending here at the Peninsula Fine Arts Center as I'm leaving this state to assume another directorship in Texas. Well, the Peninsula Fine Arts Center has been serving the public here on the peninsula since 1962. We started as the Peninsula Arts Association, and we evolved over a period of time. We came to this particular location right next door to the Mariners Museum in the early 70s. This particular building was the old hydraulics laboratory for Newport News Shipbuilding. And they generously gifted this facility to the Peninsula Fine Arts Center that allowed us to add on this wing, which we were able to then secure accreditation. We're one of less than a handful, quite frankly, in the country as a non-collecting institution that does have accreditation by the American Alliance of Museums. That is a very, very special honor for the Peninsula Fine Arts Center, and it's really what has allowed us to share works from artists like Winslow Homer or Salvador Dali or Andy Warhol or most recently the Wyeths. Well, the Peninsula Fine Arts Center in 1962 really had two local artists that were really driving the community to start the Peninsula Arts Association, and that was Betty England, who was a very well-known watercolorist. She was on the faculty at Christopher Newport, but she also happened to be my art teacher when I was growing up as a child. We also had another local artist who was well-known for her portraits named Agnes McMurrin Johnson. And Agnes's brother served in the General Assembly, so we were very fortunate from the day that we started in 1962. We were a chapter affiliate of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. So that has given us access to their collection from the moment that we opened the doors. That allowed for the Fabergé collection, which they have there at the VMFA, to come down to here and to be the work to be showcased. And so we're very fortunate to have that relationship with the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts.
We've shown Andy Warhol, we've shown Mary Cassatt, we've shown Rembrandt. Let me try to think. We've done exhibitions on the Hudson River School of Painting. We have had exhibitions on African art, Egyptian art, Asian art, Native American art.
We have had artists from all over the world, quite frankly, come and be able to be showcased through these doors. Goya, I think we've had masterworks of American Impressionism.
So I think we've done, had just kind of a wide range as far as artists, well-known, Ansel Adams, photography, to, different, painters, Robert Colescott, one of my favorites, Kara Walker, Betty Saar. So we've had quite, I think a diverse grouping of artists, contemporary as well as some from, the 19th or maybe 18th century. So I think that's been one of the great one of the great aspects of the Peninsula Fine Arts Center is we don't focus just on contemporary art. I mean, we have a broad range of exhibitions that we've put on display. So I think that makes us kind of unique in that sense.
We've had, most recently, we had a fashion showcase where we had Judith Lieber bags and Roberta Corin jewelry, as well as Oscar de la Renta gowns. So we have a really rich history here of showcasing both nationally and internationally well-known artists, but also we've never forgotten that the local art community is very important to the mission of this institution. So, for instance, with the Wyeth exhibit that we have right now, we have Andrew, Jamie, and N.C. Wyeth, but we also have an artist from Virginia that we invited to be a part of this process, where Ryan Lytle, who lives in Richmond, has done an installation inspired by a children's book that was originally illustrated by Jamie Wyeth.
We did a wonderful project with photographer Glenn McClure, who had done a whole series on shipyard workers. So it was, he had taken, I'm not sure quite how many portraits of these shipyard workers in all different cities, not just Newport News, but also in Norfolk and Portsmouth. And I've known of Glenn's work for a long time, and he brought over his work, and I was, really impressed with it. And because he had traveled all around the region, I thought his work would make an excellent kind of regional collaboration with other venues. And so, I talked to some other curators and some other, and I think there was 3 other ones that were on board: the Chrysler Museum, the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center, and then also the Charles Taylor Visual Arts Center in Hampton. And so, we all got together and looked at all of Glenn's work and decided, who wanted, all the different, all his different photographs. And I thought it was a really highly successful project to kind of highlight those hardworking individuals, that are working in the shipyard. It's kind of this, remarkable industry. Then I did a huge group show. We had an exhibition called Dream House, and it was actually kind of Dream House. We did 2 exhibitions. We did Dream House, which was an exhibition that the former curator put together back in, I'm trying to think, it was 25 years ago. And then I decided, because a lot of visitors would comment, to our front desk, and they'd said, I really like that exhibition. So we decided on the 25th anniversary to kind of remix it and then invite the artists that had displayed their work 25 years ago to participate, as well as new artists to participate. And so all of the galleries were kind of broken up into different rooms. So it was kind of this wonderful dream house of artists that had created, whether it be a wonderful bed or dishes or bookcases, so that every room had a kind of different function, and it had all this wonderful creativity by all these wonderful artists. So it was great to do this wonderful group show and get all the artists involved, which was fantastic. You don't normally get that get that kind of participation. So it was remarkable. For a long time, we used to do a juried exhibition, and then it turned into kind of a biennial exhibition, and we would always have this wonderful, kind of a world-class juror that would come in, and we would send them slides or send them digital images, and they would select an exhibition that we would then put on display, and then the juror would come down and then actually select the award winner. So we had artist Faith Ringgold that participated, as well as art critic Donald Cuspit. We've had Mario Amaya, who was actually the former director at the Chrysler Museum, but also he worked a lot with Andy Warhol. So we've had directors, we've had artists, we've had other curators that all come in, every couple years, and that was a great way to kind of see what local artists were doing, but also there were artists that were from just around the United States that would enter, and so it was kind of neat to see what was going on, around the country as well. Trying to think as far as other artists. I mean, I've worked with so many. It's been wonderful to work with artists and kind of, especially kind of giving them their first show. I worked with an artist, Sam Hunley, who kind of did this trash to treasure exhibition, and he would just go, people sometimes would give him trash, and then and he would just create these wonderful pieces, metal sculptures, and 2D and 3D work, and it was really remarkable to see. His career was actually in more illustration. He worked for the Virginia Pilot for a long time, doing their illustrations for the newspaper. So it was kind of interesting to see his progression, as an artist, and his work when we did give him a solo show. So it's been nice to see artists that have exhibited here, and then you still see their work out and about. So it's been fun. The space that we're in right now was one of the great things that we put together. This is our Hands-On for Kids gallery, and normally, obviously, when you go to museums, it's hands-off. You're not supposed to touch the art, and sometimes that's hard for little kids because they do want to touch art. So this space is for them. So we would have activities that would look at the exhibitions, but then they could come in here and they could draw a picture, or they could, do some sort of activity. They could read a book. They could, we had a Lego wall, and so we had, all these different things, interactive activities for kids. We did for school groups. We did awesome, wonderful school group tours for the local schools, and also, private and parochial schools. We love to have the kids come, and we would go from, young kids to teenagers. We actually had a program called Artistic Verses, where teenagers would come to the art center, they would look at the art, and then they would create poetry and written text about the work that they saw on view and everything, which was kind of really neat to see them connect with the art, but also, in written word as well. as I mentioned before, also we had a studio art school. Upstairs on our second floor, we have hand building and wheels, so the kids could, learn clay and everything. Also, watercolor and illustration. We've done classes on like manga, all that new hip illustration stuff, and so I think we've had quite a variety of different things for kids. One of the things that I'm doing right now is, and what we have done in the past, is we actually have wall labels that we put up, and they're specifically for kids, so that the kids can read these labels and hopefully learn something, whether it's about Picasso or Dali, some kind of fun fact that they may not have known before. So it's more children appropriate versus maybe some of the other labels that are next to the artwork that maybe they don't understand all the language and everything involved. So that's kind of one of the cool things that we've been able to do, within the exhibitions.
So in 2013, the members approved what we thought at the time was going to be a merger with Christopher Newport. It actually turned out to be a dissolution of the Peninsula Fine Arts Center.
The president of Christopher Newport decided that he wanted to build a fine arts center to kind of complement the Ferguson Center for the Arts, and that this fine arts building would also encompass the art department, the art history department, but also have a gallery. And so he, asked us as far as kind of merging or being a partner, and unfortunately, throughout those years from 2013 to the present, things didn't quite work out as planned.
But a new facility is being built on the campus of Christopher Newport. It's called the Fine Arts Center at Christopher Newport. And that new construct will have some very similar elements that we here have at the Art Center. There'll be some exhibition space, a studio art school, so the community will continue to be able to enjoy fine arts programming that really has been the history and the legacy of PFAC.
So unfortunately, all this wonderful legal stuff. So we've had to close, and not for any financial reason or anything like that. So, but CNU is going to have a wonderful fine arts facility, and so but they will open up next year, and so there will still be that art resource. So it's not like we're, while we are, closing, there will be something to kind of take our place, I guess, in a sense. The final exhibition is kind of interesting because, we didn't quite know when we were going to end, so it's kind of surreal that Surrealism is the ending exhibition. So I worked with a private collector in the area who had this wonderful surrealist collection, and I tried to really kind of focus on the masters of surrealism. So I think people recognize, Salvador Dali, Roberto Matta, Pablo Picasso, Moreau, and then, some of my favorites include like Lam and Yves Tanguy, so that it kind of shows just this wonderful view of surrealism and what was going on in that time period.
But we also wanted to add a family element into this particular exhibition, as it is the final one that we'll be showcasing here at the Peninsula Fine Arts Center. And so we have included some original illustrations by Maurice Sendak, Dr. Seuss. We're going to have some of the original work from Fantasia, which of course is a Walt Disney production that is coming from the Walt Disney Museum in California. So we think that families as well as adults will really have the opportunity to engage with this exhibition. Surrealism can be a little bit challenging, so breaking it down, adding those components of Dr. Seuss and Maurice Sendak, which are very imaginative, we think will really help bring the work to life for the public.
So it's, and then the other exhibition, we did Surrealism in children's literature, so which is kind of really interesting because I don't think a lot of people understand kind of some of the things that are going on, especially with Dr. Seuss and Maurice Sendak and Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse, some of those. Walt Disney and Salvador Dali were actually kind of collaborators. They wanted to, work together on movies, and so Destino was one of those. Didn't quite get off the ground so much, but they tried. There's some other. We have Alice in Wonderland, just kind of that, some of those, you kind of think of them as classic books, but they have kind of these surrealistic, tones in them. So I think that'll be kind of interesting for people to see and kind of react to, and hopefully bring their kids. And then we have the last exhibit is Janice Hathaway. She teaches at Thomas Nelson Community College, and she's created these wonderful works of surrealism, and they're gorgeous, with photoshopping and taking her own images, and so it's really remarkable. So we have all this going on. We open up to the public on November 21st, and then we close this exhibition on December 20th. Pack it all up, send it back to the people that we borrowed it from, and then December 31st will actually be the last official day, but there really won't be anything on display in the Arts Center. So it's, we've never done a surrealism show, so it's kind of interesting to put this and coordinate this one, so it's the end, so.
So we're very pleased that we were able to have our accreditation continue to the new Fine Arts Center at Christopher Newport, and we hope that they will carry on the legacy of what we've been able to do as an institution to really bring some of the highest caliber arts from artists from all over the world to this community. We believe that legacy is so important, particularly as some of our school-age children really don't have the opportunity to visit museums outside of the area. And so we want them to have the same experiences that other school-age children have the opportunity when they travel with their family.
For me, I'd be remiss in not thanking everyone, all the visitors that we've had throughout the decades, all the families, all the kids that have come for art classes or to participate in different events or festivals or just educational programs. It's been wonderful to see them come and react to the artwork, hopefully learn something, about the art that's on view, and I hope we've kind of made a difference in people's lives with what we have done here as far as our mission in bringing kind of really high quality exhibitions and programs and everything else to the region. So I hope that I hope that we've touched people in some way, and I hope they only have good thoughts for us.